It is.
Dude.
Is it not warm enough?
No, it's plenty warm.
Okay.
Welcome back to a casual Joe sipping cast. That's it.
Jeremy's going to say something really loud probably shortly because he's all about dynamics here on Throwing From the One, a.k.a. the Grady Podcast, a.k.a. Dana White's Dirty Draw Show. We haven't talked about fighting in so long. We're the Dana White's Dirty Drawer Show. We literally haven't talked about Dana White, much less fighting, much less the UFC, much less Dana White.
We can talk about that female UFC fighter who someone tried to, jump and rob in the streets.
Oh, yeah, and she, beat the guy to a pulp.
Yeah.
Yeah, she murdered his face.
There we go.
Which is sweet.
Fighting.
It's not really dirty drawers. That is kind of Dana White's underwear drawer. Dana White's underwear drawer. I had it right. Yeah, anyway. Episode 28. Throwing From the One. We're here. On a Tuesday.
Coming up.
Yep. In between the divisional round of the NFL playoffs and the conference championship round.
Indeed.
We have a decent amount to get to today.
And
after
a new camera. Boop, 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 boop.
This is actually our first time with, I would say, a camera. Although the succulent cam, out of commission today. But the succulent cam was a cam. But yeah, there should be video, and there should be video consistently going forward. Video. Yeah, I know. It's like we shouldn't even talk about stuff like this, dude.
No cameras.
We do. I mean, Jeremy, actually, I'm not... Last week's episode, thank you to everyone who watched any part of that monstrosity because it was really long. It got out of control. I mean, I knew...
And you wanted to talk about,
Oh, I know, I do. There was
specific rules.
I know, man. There was so much. We, barely... Yeah, we So the list is... much more minimal this week. That's it.
Teeny list.
Half one page. There's a little more to get to than on there. We're mostly NFL playoffs again this week. We've got the conference championship games coming up. The Patriots probably best team win of the season against the Chargers in the divisional round. Got some sweet college basketball going on. We've got some terrible basketball going on in Boston and around the Celtics. Yeah, so there's Celtics drama to get to, football.
Kyrie's leaving.
I mean, I still don't know, but I'm starting to worry.
He said walk.
I know he said, dude, but also you said I got to trust Kyrie about this, but why would I trust Kyrie? I don't even like listening to Kyrie. He doesn't, I don't know. I don't know that he's not trustworthy, but I definitely don't, get the feeling that Kyrie's word is law necessarily. And it's like all of a sudden it's like becoming a bad situation. And it's
Jason Tatum dropped 34 and they still lost to who'd they lose to the other night? Really bad team.
The Magic. They lost to the Magic and the Nets. So
the Nets, yeah. That was the night Jason Tatum dropped 34 and they still lost.
Yeah, and I think that's also the night when Kyrie had his mini freak out, right?
Well, that was when they were... that was... Was that game?
Yeah, because... Yeah. No, because the game before is the shoving match, which we also... Shoving match is a bit strong. Marcus Morris pushed Jaylen Brown. And I mean, it's like, regardless of the extent of the physicality in that, it's like, that's not a functional NBA team, dude, on any level. You can't, I can't even imagine something like that on a Greg Popovich team. I mean, that guy's just, one of those guys would not be playing by that point.
Yeah.
So we'll finish the story here, but that gets to an interesting point because after the Nets loss, Kyrie misses the next game with a thigh bruise out of nowhere. Basically, they essentially what it looked like from the outside, as I understand it, Brown was, and this part is definitely, oh, geez, that was a pretty rough pass, Jeremy. Brown definitely did miss a couple layups, and he definitely did loaf back on defense. And I think it's just hypothesis up to this point, but people think that that's what Morris was getting on Brown about. Brown said something back, and Marcus Morris is the moose, so he's going to push, won't take anything about it. Brad Stevens sort of made light of it. He like called attention to the fact that Marcus Smart broke it up. He's like, how about Smart breaking that up? Talk about maturity as a player. Like, all right, how about not losing to the Nets and the Magic in the same weekend, Brad? When they're trying, I mean, I want to get the standings while we're talking about this, but which I meant to do before the show, because it's hard to climb when every week we talk about how all those teams up there are playing well. Yeah, so you look at the top 5 teams, which is, we keep talking about this in the Eastern Conference. Raptors, Bucks, Pacers, Sixers, Celtics. Still, we look at the last 10 records for all the top 4 teams, and it's 8-2, 8-2, 8-2, 7-3. Everybody has at least 2-game winning streak. The Celtics are 5-5, lost their last 3. They're now 7 back. Like, that's a crawl.
Yeah.
They're not getting the first seed.
Unlikely.
They're not getting the first seed, and they're 6 back of the 2. Like, they're building themselves.
Who's the 5 seed right now?
Them.
So who's the 4 seed?
Sixers.
And who's the 6 seed?
Expand. Enhance. They're 3.5 up on the Heat still, so I mean, it's those 5 teams and everybody else. I mean, 6.
Yeah, but you don't want to play the Sixers in the first round.
6, 7, 8 is Heat, Nets, Hornets. So it's those 5 and everyone else in the East. Hey, funny I should say that because the Celtics can't even beat the Heat. But I mean, I don't want to play the Sixers in the first round, but I mean, they're gonna run into. Ultimately they're going to run into a tough matchup for them in the East if they're going to get out of the East this year. So I'm starting to get back to the point where I don't think it matters, and it's like, let's just hopefully they compete, which is unbelievable given the amount of talent they still have. We got derailed. Kyrie freaked out. In the Nets game, the final play. Dude, we got to make sure this is the Nets game before we talk about this. But there was a play call. Tatum takes the final shot. Kyrie is mouthing to Brad out of the timeout, mouthing at Hayward after the inbounds, which the weird thing about that is the combo, like the fact that he was jawing at Brad and at Gordon Hayward. So it's like, what, you're mad about something Brad did, and then you're mad at Hayward about something Brad did, or you want Hayward to just go against the coach and inbound the ball to you. Like, all right, here's the play, guys, and Kyrie just says, all right, here's the real play, guys. Actually, just throw it to me. I'm gonna get a sprint from the backcourt. And granted, it's one of my favorite plays that they run at the end of games. Like, I never have a problem when they toss it to Kyrie with a full head of steam because it's like remarkable how many times it works. He'll eat like it's very unique final inbounds play. Like they're the only team in the NBA that takes the ball behind half court so they can throw it to Kyrie and let him get sprinting. And it is, I mean, it's uncanny. Like, he either stops and pops or runs past the guy, like almost every time. And then whether he passes out or whatever, but it does create a play. At the same time, Tatum's hot boy, he's coming into his own at some point. It's like Kyrie is not going to take every single last shot on the team. And I mean, they just so obviously have team problems at this point that are so much deeper than needing to adjust to each other. Like, there's starting to get to the point where I'm worrying they have like personal problems on the team. Like, this might be a team of guys that ultimately don't like each other or won't be compatible. And that might be because they have all this talent and they can't incorporate with each other, so they're just all like mad at each other about it. But at the same time, I don't care why it is. It's if we've got a team of butthurt guys that are like just gonna bitch at each other instead of working hard together, you know, on a day-to-day basis, which is still what it takes for a team like them to win in that league, because they still don't have Kevin Durant and Steph and Clay like everybody else except the Warriors. They're still not as talented as the Warriors.
Yeah.
So they got to work hard, and they got to work hard, and they got to work hard with a good attitude. And it's just, I don't know. It's getting scary, because how long can I let this go on before I have to start questioning Brad, questioning Kyrie, questioning the mix of talent? Like, if this is this whole season and then they get bounced in the first round, it's like we need to see changes this offseason then.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, that's what you do. And there's nothing you really can do before it. Unless, you know, you find like a good like trade for Jaylen Brown or something before the deadline.
Well, that's a problem, is if things go the way they are, then they don't have as much talent or capital as they thought. Because if I mean, frankly, Jaylen Brown is a bust if he continues his current development, which is like, it seems like an overreaction to say that after half of one season, when after last year I was like, yeah, he didn't come along as much as I'd hoped, but he's still promising, potentially elite player. But it's like the way he's playing this year. I heard I can't remember who it is. I hate doing this when I don't know the source's name. I think it was Chris Gasper, Boston Globe writer, who compared Jaylen Brown to Jeff Green, which is scary accurate. As soon as I heard it, I was like,
Scary Terry.
Oh no, he's Jeff Green. Because when Jeff Green was when the Celtics first traded for Jeff Green, he was a little later on than Jaylen Brown right now, but still in like the stage of his career where it was like, well, it's about time for this guy, but there's still the flashes. And he would have these 40-point nights where you're just dunking on everyone. You're like, okay, if you can jump over everyone, why aren't you scoring at least like 15 points a night? And then other nights nothing. Does not attack, does not engage defensively. It's Jaylen Brown. And I mean, he's still only 21, but you can't do this for 4 seasons, 5 seasons in the NBA. Like, he's setting at best, he's setting a poor tone for his career.
Yeah.
And at worst, he's just, botching his own potential and his development. I mean, Tatum is starting to feel like a known commodity, but also it's like to the point where they're not going to trade him. So now you're left with Kyrie plus Tatum and a bunch of guys who aren't as valuable as they should be, basically. So if they don't, like, to me, it's like you win with this unit or like it's a setback.
No,
because they've put all the eggs in this basket to this point, and it's scary. Now there's no more excuses. Everyone's healthy, and they seem good enough, but I don't know what to say. They're not. They're playing 581 winning percentage basketball. It's like winning just over 50% of your games in the NBA is not great team stuff. And especially not like going on 3-game losing streaks. You're losing to the Heat, the Nets, and the Magic.
Yeah.
That's not chill, dude. You can't be doing that.
Major unchill, dude.
Yeah, that's... I mean, they lost to... They literally, over the weekend, lost to 3 out of the 4 teams right below them in the standings. It's like, yeah, we just don't want to have a playoff. I mean...
The Lakers lost to the Cavs, if that makes you feel better.
The Lakers don't have LeBron.
They still lost the Cavs, though.
But that's like the best excuse. No LeBron.
That's a pretty good excuse.
Especially if you're a crappy LeBron team, like all these LeBron teams. It's like, we don't have LeBron. What do you want Kuz to do? Score 60 every night or whatever he did?
So,
Triple B's on the man. I don't know. I'm frustrated with the Celtics. That's about all I have on that, though. LeBron's almost back. Lakers definitely need him. You can't be losing the Cavs, obviously. Are they still the worst team in the league? Record-wise? So. Oh, yeah, 9-35. I mean, you can't be being a team's 9th win. Someone's got to, but it shouldn't be you.
Someone doesn't have to.
No, usually you have to win 9 games in the NBA.
You don't
what was the Bobcats record?
I think they won like 11 games.
Yeah, I think they even won double digits. The Bobcats. Wow.
Adam Morrison owns like a men's grooming store.
I don't even know who Adam Morrison is.
The Bobcats guy from Gonzaga. They took him with like the 4th overall pick in the draft like 10 years ago, and he didn't do anything. Dude. How do you not remember Adam Morrison, dude? He was like...
Why would I remember a Gonzaga player from 10 years ago? Because he won, like,
he was like college basketball player of the year. I think they won the national... No, they didn't. They lost the national championship because there was a famous video of him crying on the court. And then... Yeah.
Why would I care about a crier from 10 years ago at Gonzaga?
Because he was kind of like Jimmer Fredette before Jimmer Fredette. Except he like actually had higher expectations.
I mean, this guy looks familiar.
Oh, it's friend of the podcast, Alex Wong.
Oh shit.
Hello, podcast. It is Alex Wong. Buy a podcast. I need to cook steaks.
All right. Alex will be joining us, cooking some steaks. After the break, we'll see how that process goes. Yeah, I mean, this guy looks familiar. Oh, yeah, I remember that mustache. No, still irrelevant. Dude, do you realize how many top 5 busts there are in the NBA draft? It's like every year 4 out of 5.
Lots of people remember Adam Morrison. I'm sure Grady could talk about Adam Morrison for 10 minutes if he were here.
Yeah, I mean, Grady's like a basketball nerd who also like actually pays attention to like the Northwest, and he's a basketball nerd, period.
What a nerd. Grady, come back. You should desert the Navy.
Yeah. This guy doesn't... I don't know. I don't even understand why we're talking about him.
I don't remember how he came up. Oh,
because
of the
Bobcats.
But, that's why.
But they did a lot more than miss one draft pick. I mean, they missed every draft pick other than Kemba basically their entire existence. I don't think they made another good pick. He's the only homegrown player they've had that I can remember. Why are we talking about the Hornets? Dude, we have so much NFL.
We're talking about the Bobcats, Walk. Let's keep it classic.
Dude, we have okay. James Harden broke Kobe's record for 30-point games consecutively. James Harden better than Kobe.
Confirmed.
Okay. Adam Gase has eyes that don't stay in his head, apparently. How do we feel about that? The new coach of the New York Jets in only maybe the most critical media market in the nation, I just realized. Do you think that's what it was? It was just hitting him like, oh my God,
what
Jets.
He had signed up for.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that wasn't a dream.
I just met with Sam and we've got some work to do.
No, you know what it was he was pretty sure he was dreaming the whole time. And then he was like, right before the press conference, he was like pinching himself trying to wake up. And
he just walked up there in like a surreal state of like semi-awakeness. Just, is this real life? This is real life. And now I can see. Oh, then he turns into one of the Bird Box people. It's beautiful. No, not the killing yourself because of it people. The people who love it. He turns into one of the like wacko, wide open eye people. Yeah, so that's a stupid hire, and his press conference is a classic meme, which anyone good enough at the internet to watch this podcast is already familiar with.
Not Henry.
No, Henry knows about that.
Nope.
Henry knows about
He
memes.
doesn't. I bet you, Henry, you don't know it. You don't know. I know you don't know.
Drop line in the comments if you know, Henry, or anybody else. If you know what's up, let us know what's up, because we definitely don't, obviously.
Neither does Alex Wong. Drinking OJ straight from the carton.
Crushing it.
He's a man's man.
Keep crushing it, dude. The Packers hired two of the worst offensive coaches in the league to lead their offensive team. What gives?
I think they figured if they get two of the worst offensive minds in football, then Aaron Rodgers can run the show.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that. It's like McCarthy's offense wasn't minimal, simplistic, or old school enough. They need to they need to surround Rodgers with two tight ends and an I formation, and then there's no play. Oh no, or even better, we run the triple option every play.
Yeah, you know what the NFL is missing these days? Split backs.
I mean, Titans and Jags guys, if anyone could bring those back. I could see Aaron Rodgers with some split backs next year, dancing around and then not throwing it to either of them wide open in the flat on either side.
And then hurting his knee in like week 5.
Yep, and then struggling to stay above playoff water for the rest of the season until eventually succumbing to his injury and coaching and giving up basically around week 14.
Yeah, but he'll still be in the State Farm commercials all postseason long.
Dude. It's been a long time since I looked at any of those like athlete money lists and everything, but Raj Pod rakes it in for sure.
He does the deals. I'm pretty sure he made an Instagram only so he could advertise more.
I'm sure. He's probably never even opened the app. It's his like publicity person just posts his endorsement stuff on there.
His very first post I remember was just him, like a 30-second montage of him shooting hoops in a Zaza jersey.
All right. Probably a pretty good shooter. He's pretty athletic. That guy.
Tall.
Yeah. Bet he played basketball in high school. Speaking of guap in large quantities, Antonio Bryant.
Brown.
What gives? Brown. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, what gives?
What gives, Walk?
What's going to happen?
I think he'll eventually get traded.
They're going to keep him and Le'Veon on the roster next year.
I don't think either of them will be on the
swirl
roster.
into a tornado of...
They're about to lose arguably the
possible.
best running back and wide receiver in an offseason.
Cheers, boys. Way to go. Good thing you got a
I don't know if
Big Ben to carry
Big
you.
Ben, Juju, and James Conner. Are they going to...
No, dude.
I don't know if they can get it done.
I mean, I said it before this year on this podcast. The Browns are coming for that ass, dude. And next year they're taking that division.
I predicted they would go 8-8, so half game off.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I felt. We never talked about it, but I feel vindicated about my Browns pick. They were what I expected, you know. And the thing about it is, the record wasn't quite what I expected. Excuse me. The record wasn't quite what I expected, but you know,
they were in a lot of close games at the beginning that they lost.
They were right
or
there.
Tied.
And all I was really, you know, I thought they were going to be very competitive this year, and pretty much throughout the entire season.
They almost beat the Saints.
Yeah. No, they played. I mean, they're
in New Orleans, if I remember correctly.
We would have to look, and we're kind of getting sidetracked, but I don't think they might have gotten blown out once or twice this year, but for the Browns, that's like miraculous. Like they almost every week were a regular old any given Sunday team.
That's because they wake up feeling dangerous now, Walk.
They sure do.
Baker's in the building.
Anyway,
swag.
I literally can't comment on the AB trade beyond Jerry Rice says he's going to the Niners, and all I've heard is Niners chatter.
It's super logical. I mean, if you think about it, next year I mean, the Niners went on that cute little run to end last season, but ultimately that didn't mean anything.
No.
This season, Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. Sure, last season. But next year, he's going to be back. This will be Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch's third year. And, like, I mean, you got to do something now. And he doesn't... You got to make it easy for Jimmy Garoppolo. The guy's only played a dozen games in the last 4 to 5 years.
Well, I'd be concerned. I mean,
and
that's my
their best
thing.
wide receiver is Dante Pettis.
I'd be worried about protecting the kid, which bringing in a receiver does do that to some extent. That helps.
And they'll get Jerick McKinnon back if he's still good off his ACL.
Yeah, I mean, offensive talent in general takes a bit of heat off of him. That's just, I don't know.
I mean, George Kittle is amazing.
I'm concerned about the potential softness of Garoppolo. He's not. I don't think he's that soft. I think the softness combined with the I don't know what to call it, but like the consciousness of injury and protecting yourself.
Yeah.
Like he's so much more of a Rodgers than a Brady on that regard.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and it's not even Rodgers, because Rodgers does like dumb stuff to the point where he like hangs into plays too long. Garoppolo like gets lost. It's more like, who's a good example of this? I mean, I want to find a good, because there are good quarterbacks who it happens to, but guys who just get caught up in a play and you're just like, oh, this is just happening to him now. Like he's running because there's no one in front of him, but he does not want to be running this ball. It's not like, here's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to make a play. Garoppolo's just like, do something, smashed. And like, you can't be indecisive leading to shoulder separations and have a long career in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you look at like Tom Brady or Russell Wilson. I mean, Russell Wilson hasn't missed a play, and it's because he's mastered the art of getting tackled gracefully.
Yeah.
Like,
there's something to
he's
falling.
taken like literally half a dozen like bad twists or just shots his whole career.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's that's a concern, but either way, if I was the Niners, I would try and bring Antonio Brown in. Obviously, you have to if you have a chance at him and you're that team. I feel like I'm with you. It's logical.
Yeah, I mean, and you got two teams in your division made the playoffs this year and should be as good or better next year.
No, yeah, you got to compete. You're in one of the tougher divisions in football for sure.
The Cardinals can't get worse.
That is technically true, most likely. I want to knock out Kyler Murray and then take a quick break, and then all we got to do is bang out all this football, this NFL football, which we've been drifting into. We should have cleared our our NFL thoughts to start with. Yeah, Kyler Murray is declaring for the draft. What is this kid's deal, Jeremy?
What do you mean? I think he likes football.
Why is he teasing everybody?
He's not. He's coming. He's playing football, dude.
So why did he tell us all he was playing baseball, including baseball teams?
Because he didn't think he was going to win the Heisman.
Why does the Heisman change what sport he wants to play?
It changes.
He didn't know he was talented before?
I don't think he thought he could go in the top 10 before the season.
He can go in the top 10 now, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that'll be hurting him is that indecision. Because, I mean, obviously, spending a top 10 draft pick and then not having the guy show up would be bad.
Borderline catastrophic, I would say.
Yeah.
That's as big of a bust as you can have. Guy never reports.
At least Jamarcus Russell showed up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, be there. Availability is the best ability. Yeah, okay. Good stuff, Jeremy. 30 minutes, right on pace. We're going to take a quick break and then come back and knock out all the NFL stuff.
Crop.
Bang, bang. Yep. We're back on Throne from the One.
Stabbing Alex Wong podcast.
The Stabbing Alex Wong podcast. He's getting stabbed over there, or stabbing. He's stabbing, but he's confused. Yeah, that's right. Stab
he took
yourself.
off his blindfold.
He's stabbing himself now. He took off his blindfold. He saw the bird box. He saw the.
He saw the bird box.
He saw the creatures, whatever they call them in Bird Box.
The birds.
Don't watch that piece of shit movie, by the way, people. Netflix doesn't need your money. They don't care what you watch. They're gonna keep pouring bajillions of dollars into Sandra Bullock and John Malkovich and mediocre thrillers. But I digress, because if we do that, we're gonna be here for another 2 hours.
Bird Box podcast.
We have talked about Bird Box a lot.
Not on the podcast.
Today, no, on this podcast. That's like the third time there's been not talked about it, blah, but why are we referencing Bird Box so much?
Because
It's iconic.
Bird Box.
Maybe it was better than I gave it credit. Yeah, we're all NFL in the second half. NFL playoffs, current events.
Football.
We got games to review, games to preview, and picks to make. Starting with a review of the divisional round, right? You want to start with that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start with that.
Let's start with a review of week 4.
Let's start with a review of the NFC games, starting with the Rams-Boys game. And first of all, I will say everybody knows the Rams and Saints came out of last weekend, as the winners in the NFC, which means, thankfully for the rest of us, the Cowboys and Eagles are the losers, and the two worst fan bases in the NFL got knocked out of the playoffs in the same weekend. So we can all rejoice for that. In what was
What about the Raiders?
Okay, so two of the worst fan bases in the NFL, but you don't got to do that to me always. Just let me overgeneralize sometimes, dude. Or just like hyperbolize, I guess. Anyway, it was not the best weekend of football of the year, unfortunately.
No.
The NFC games were fine. The Saints-Eagles game was a pretty entertaining game, right?
Yeah.
Of course, the game I paid the least attention to / watched the least.
That's because you were scared
Through the course of the day.
BDN.
I'm not going to lie, it didn't please me to see him doing well. When they were up, it was incentive to not watch. Because I had grown quite tired of that. And yeah, I'm thankful it's over. I don't want to see any more Nick Foles in the playoffs, much less doing well.
He'll be back.
So I did see like today that Peterson says Carson Wentz is the quarterback going forward. So we've restarted
he won't be back with the Eagles, but he might get like the Broncos starting job or like the Jags starting job.
We're just restarting the annual cycle. They bring Nick Foles back. Carson Wentz gets hurt.
No, they can't bring Nick Foles back this time.
Franchise tag.
No, because if they bring Nick Foles back again and Carson Wentz plays like he did this season, which wasn't bad, but, not what he was, like, do you really want the fans chanting Nick Foles in week 8 when they're 4-4?
Yeah, dude, let's do it. I do.
I don't think Doug
I want
Peterson
blood.
does.
Let's do it. I want Doug Pede to bring Nick Foles back. So, okay, yeah, you don't want the fans chanting, but what happens when Carson Wentz does his annual mild knee or weird other seemingly career-threatening injury that just pops up? You're screwed.
Well,
So
yeah.
that's why you keep Nick Foles, and you have your regular season quarterback in Carson Wentz. Once he gets too broken down, put Foles in there for the playoffs, and you're set. Franchise tag him. 2 quarterbacks. I'd rather pay 2 quarterbacks than a quarterback and a wide
franchise
receiver.
tag him though, then you're paying
Look
him
at the
like-
Saints. Look at the Saints.
But you're paying him so much money, you could sign him for
So
less
so
than the
you're
franchise
so you're telling
tag.
me you wouldn't pay premier top dollar for 2 quarterbacks, even given, hang with me here, the success the Saints have had with Taysom Hill this year.
No. They're paying
You
Taysom.
need 2 quarterbacks if you
Taysom
want to have
Hill.
that kind of offense.
Taysom Hill is getting paid pennies, dude.
Yeah, but if you can afford it, why would you not have a better second quarterback?
But they can't afford it.
I don't even know why I'm doing this.
The Eagles have like 0 cap space.
Yeah, Foles is done, dude. I'm I don't know why I just did that. Honestly, Foles is done, and
I think he's gonna get a starting job next year.
yeah, but I mean,
Or like he'll be brought in expected to be the starter, and probably
BDN
either
is done.
Jacksonville or Denver.
BDN is done, is what I mean to
I
say.
don't know, dude. Goes the Jags. Could spark magic.
Nah, the Jags suck, Jeremy, and you know it, and I know it. And
Leonard Fournette just needs
they're not
to
getting
get
better
back
with
in shape.
Baloney face down there as the head coach either, or Baloney gut more accurately. Do you want to talk about one of the games?
Sure.
Which one?
Rams, Cowboys.
Okay.
We already started and then got distracted.
Well, we barely even started, but yeah. What's your takeaway? I think the Rams looked the same.
Yeah. Well, I think they looked better than they did the 4 to 5 weeks coming into the postseason.
I guess the end of the playoff or the end of the regular season, rather. Yeah, they lost all of their momentum.
But yeah, they look what.
Well, Gurley back obviously is huge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, C.J. Anderson was slicing and dicing.
That's
as effective.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is the thing that to me though indicates that they just outplayed that Dallas team is how effective C.J. Anderson was, because like
it shows me how much the Seahawks should have switched up their play calling the week before.
Yeah, dude. I mean they lost to the clapper, like yeah,
the clapper.
And I mean, I went back and listened to last week when I did, by the way, pick the Rams. I initially picked the Cowboys, but honestly, and I say this with, no love lost over here for the Seahawks, but a large part of it was that the Seahawks I was finally starting to be won over by them, and then the Cowboys played a pretty impressive game against them. So I was like, oh, this Dallas team is for real. And then I thought about it and I'm like, well, it's not a good matchup for them, and I still don't like the coaching quarterback. And then they came out and they were a clapper, and they couldn't.
The Cowboys didn't play bad.
No, they just couldn't. I was just gonna say they just couldn't keep up.
Yeah,
it was like
just not as good as the Rams.
Yeah, and
it really went as you would expect.
It was like almost
Rams won by 8 points.
Almost a worse version of what happened to the Seahawks against the Cowboys, where like both teams played similar games and one team just did it better.
Well, no, I mean the Rams play a very different game than the Cowboys.
Well, yeah, I mean their play design is different, but I don't think the idea is that different. They both have very limited quarterbacks and run dominated / running back playmaking dominated offenses at this point.
Dak was good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
I think he's gonna get that extension.
Well, they don't.
He played well enough in the playoffs.
He's good enough that they don't have a choice on that front, which is dangerous because you get trapped in the Andy Dalton middle ground for 8 years, 10 years.
He misses too many wide open guys. Like if he just made,
at any time of the game.
Yeah.
Big times of games, he just randomly will just miss. He's inconsistent for sure. Well, it's not just the missing is constant even when he's playing well, but then beyond that, there's times where you just look at him and you're like, the guy's not good.
Yeah.
Which he's obviously good.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Or he has the potential.
He's gone the way of the Cowboys offense, which, I mean, it makes sense. He's the quarterback, but, when the run game works, Dak works.
But he doesn't, I think there's more there with him as a player. But I mean, there's more potential there, I guess, is what I'm saying. And ultimately, how he plays is how he plays. So if he continues to be inconsistent and go down with their offense, then it's like, at some point, the guy is not good enough. And I mean, he definitely doesn't. I don't feel like for the amount, relatively speaking, of athleticism and talent he has, I don't feel like he makes plays, like barely ever.
Yeah. I mean, he gets away sometimes.
Yeah, but getting away and occasionally scrambling for a first down.
And I mean, he can run.
Josh Allen makes plays sometimes. I'm saying
yeah.
How often do you there's not a lot of times with Dak I can't remember one, and I'm not I try to watch as little Cowboys football as I can, but I can't remember one instance watching Dak Prescott where he made a play and I said, "Oof, that's a baller play."
Watch the game where they lost to the Packers in the divisional round his rookie year. That fourth quarter was the best Dak Prescott has ever played, and no one remembers it.
Mm-hmm.
But the Cowboys and the Packers traded like 2 touchdowns each in that fourth quarter before the Packers kicked that game-winning field goal, and that Dak did special things in that game.
Yeah, okay, I believe that. But I mean, so then we're between the two of us, we're since his rookie year still. And he's, he hasn't had great offensive talent around him, but it's been good. It's been good enough for sure. I mean, the wide receivers have been questionable at times, but I think there's been enough there over the course of his career.
Well, to argue for Dak, the times he's been good in his career has been 2 years ago when Dez was, I would say, definitely a notch better than he was last year.
Well, yeah.
And after they got Amari Cooper this year.
Yeah. I mean, but I don't know that that's a defense of him, that he needs a performing, physical receiver that can go and get the ball to play well.
Those are the two like big name receivers he's had. I guess
I suppose
it was a defensive. He has Zeke, and like for a good quarterback,
and he's had
that could be enough. But
he's had good line play for most of the time as well.
It's also not like Dez 2 years ago or Amari Cooper right now is Antonio Brown either with Juju in the slot.
Yeah, no, I'm with you for sure. I do also think though that like the inconsistency we talk about, and the fact that that you sit here and say, which is true, that he plays so much better when you give him a guy like that, is like in some ways an argument to further say like, oh, this is just a maybe good enough at best guy who's going to float but never carry the water on your team.
Yeah.
That's not how that metaphor works, but
carry the water
and float, and no one's in the water. I don't think Dak is just carrying buckets with like ice tubs, a yoke with ice tubs on it. You can't make the club unless you're carrying the tub.
That is how it goes.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Rams sort of returned to form, to like mid-season form for them at post losing Cooper Kupp, but like also post losing Cooper Kupp and being like, what are we gonna do? And like starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
They're a good team for sure. They're like defensively, there's questions, but I also think they're having Aqib Talib there, regardless of how he's gonna play, is helpful because the week the Patriots traded for him when he was with the Pats, it was like he came out there and
about that.
He changed the game for them. He was their first good corner post Ty Law. I mean, Asante Samuel, if you want to say that, but like he was better than Asante.
Dropped that interception.
Oh, and I mean other plays too. Yeah, I think Asante Samuel's kind of overrated, but I think Talib was their best corner since Ty Law when they acquired him, and it was like, that was coming off the years of like playing Jules as the slot corner, and like stuff was bad. It was not good. They brought Talib in, the defensive backfield improved, but like the whole attitude of the defense, like him. I mean, he was a tone setter for them, and he's a tone setter like
he's angry.
He ain't stealing nobody's soul on the post game with Jared Goff. I love that. Like,
forgot the F word in between.
No, I didn't forget. I left that out on purpose, actually. But saying he ain't stealing nobody's effing soul, which, by the way, I don't know. I didn't read into it enough to get the reference. Do you know what he's saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was about trash talk, but
it was someone on the Cowboys defense said like they were gonna steal their soul on offense. I don't know.
That doesn't seem like effective football trash talk. I will steal your soul. But yeah, just the fact that like, which it's a weird dynamic to have him like slapping and like pushing the quarterback and being all fired up and having your quarterback be like, yeah, yeah. Because I still feel like Goff is along for the ride with that team. But they're good. They're good, and like the defense, when Marcus Peters isn't gonna allow 1 touchdown per game to start, their defense has the potential still to play well enough to make them a scary team. I mean,
C.J. Anderson move was good. Good on them to pick him up.
I think the picks are hard this week. I mean,
they should be.
So this is
conference championship.
Well, right,
game.
but this is what I was gonna say, Jeremy, is in the NFL, it's getting to the point. I mean, I forgot to look it up. I did want to talk about this, but like the conference championship games for the last 5 years, it's been the 1s and 2s every year, and then the 1s end up in the Super Bowl most of the time.
Yeah.
It's
just such a huge advantage to be one of those first 2 seeds.
Well, yes. So there's that, and there is the home field thing then for the 1s, because that's going to be big for both teams this week, for different reasons. But it's a factor. But I also do think it's partly that, to some extent, we've just been seeing at the end of the season the good teams. Everyone tends to play closer to their level in the playoffs. I mean, obviously, it's the playoffs by the nature of it. You don't want to go home. And it's been tending to be less of an any given Sunday thing and more of in the playoffs, people execute. The games are called a little looser. You're not going to get saved necessarily as much by officiating and wacko stuff. And then, yeah, the good teams win. And I think that's what happened, and we have the 4 best teams in the NFL this year in the conference championships. Rams are good. Likewise, to the Saints and Eagles game, the Saints, well, even more so, even though they played a closer game, the Saints are good for sure still. Their fourth quarter drive, they went like they went 87 yards or whatever it was, but they had 25 yards in penalties.
Yeah.
So they went like 117 yards on a scoring drive in 11 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it was the longest drive since 2000.
That's unreal. And that's the scary thing about them pretty much right there is the fact that Breeze and Sean Payton can do that. Offensively, we talk about the Rams. That's going to be an interesting game to watch because we talk about the Rams, but the Saints, it's a different thing. There's less motion. It's less of the new wave, Obviously, you can't get more NFL new wave than Sean McVay, but like, it's still potent, consistent offense that works with, and the difference is that it's run by a great quarterback in a dome next week, by the way, which, like I said, home field.
I hate domes.
Yeah. Oh, me too, man. I'd be down if they weren't allowed in the NFL because, like, I heard a stat this week. I don't remember what it was, but going back to the I can't remember what the stat was, but it was something about the Colts offense, indoor versus outdoor. It's unreal, dude.
Yeah.
Like they did. I think they didn't lose in domes this year.
So is like Drew Brees' career statistics.
I know we talked about this. He's thrown like 3/4 of his touchdowns at home, and I looked at like Brady and Rodgers and blah, 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 like greats. But then I also was like, wait, who isn't like most guys are about 50-50, except the dome guys. Because Breeze is like 75% and even Peyton Manning is like 60%. I'm talking about like percentage of their touchdowns home versus away. Well, stats in general.
Manning did put together one of the best quarterbacking seasons ever, though, outside.
Well, I think... Look, I love Drew Brees as a quarterback. I'm not trying to sell him short, but his stats are inflated by the dome. And same with Peyton. Like, and I'm not trying to sell Peyton short either. Peyton was great. He was not a winner, but he was great. Peyton's the greatest regular season quarterback of all time. But yeah, like borderline loser, and he also had loser coaches for the most part.
Ouch.
Sorry, Coach at NBC Sports. Hey, look, on Wednesday, are we talking tomorrow Wednesday?
Tomorrow Wednesday, dude.
Oh dang, Celtics Raps, dude.
Are they gonna get absolutely embarrassed on national TV?
Yeah, that sounds anxiety inducing. I'm getting kind of angry thinking about that game. You want to come watch me yell at the TV for a little bit tomorrow?
I'm off class at 6.
Perfect, dude. Do you have any takeaways for the Eagles?
The Eagles Saints game?
Yeah, the game in general, I guess, but
I don't know. It was I think the Saints came out and they
carry us. I'm opening my beer.
They had an idea of what they wanted to do, in that, in their first 15 plays, the scripted plays, and that didn't work out. And then as the game continued to progress, they changed their game plan to take what the Eagles defense was giving them. And I think that was what, as well as like the interception. I mean,
yeah.
Well,
right.
Momentum huge, but
yeah.
That along with just like getting off the script and reacting to what the Eagles were doing on defense more.
Which I think, I say it again and again, but coaching and quarterbacking in the NFL, and it's, Peyton, I still don't know about Doug Peterson. I can't decide, but Sean Payton is better. I know that. And it's, it shows up in ways like that. That's one of the number one things that a lot of these, somewhat toolish NFL head coaches, I think, miss is the ability. Well, actually, no, sorry. The fact that it's pretty much their job to pay attention to the flow of the game and then adjust what's going on with the coordinators and the position groups and everything, rather than burying their face in a play sheet, or if they're Mike Tomlin, just yelling and
Getting
spitting.
Snot in their beard.
Yeah, just screaming and running and
tripping people.
And at least advocating tripping people. Yeah, so thank God the Eagles lost.
Alshon.
Yeah, thanks, Alshon. Yeah, actually, thanks, Alshon.
That
There's
was
a
such
99.
sad
Hey, I
way.
wonder what the Amazon Web Services percentage of him to catch that ball was.
Probably pretty high.
There was a 99.8% chance of Alshon Jeffrey catching the ball, and then it went to his hand, and the Eagles lost.
People pulled up an article from just like a month ago where he said in an interview that he thought he had the best hands in football.
I was just gonna say, I feel like he's actually been dropsy throughout his career. I mean, he was less dropsy than Brandon Marshall when they were together in Chicago, but I remember talking shit to my Bears fan friends, my Bears fan friend, realistically, about how their receivers were so big and talented but couldn't catch. Because I think they did have maybe, I think it was one season they had the worst catch rate in the NFL, and Marshall had the worst among wide receivers, and Alshon, it was like one of his first couple of years, was in high up there. I don't know why I have that perception. That might not even be true. I know the catch rating thing is true, and Brandon Marshall was a disaster when it came to consistently catching the ball. But anyway, how's about those Chiefs? That was pretty impressive, huh?
That was crazy. I mean, if the Chiefs, keep up that level of defense, it's over. Even for the Saints. But I
don't know. I think if both teams play the way they played last week, the Pats will beat them this week.
You think it really? Well,
yeah.
I don't. It's hard to say because the Chiefs held the Colts to 7 points and the Patriots scored on their first 4 drives. So probably gonna meet somewhere in the middle there.
Well, they're definitely gonna meet somewhere in the middle. I mean, the thing is, I just look at it as both the Chiefs and the Patriots dominated their games. But I mean, if you watch it, realistically, the Patriots embarrassed like a team that we thought was maybe the best team in the AFC.
Yeah.
In terms of their top to bottom, left to right talent. And we all, I takeaways from that game coming up, but on the other
Charger.
Right, and I think exactly, and I also think this game was at least partly a case of Colts going cold. No, we can. I can get the dome record this year, and then you put them in 20 degree record weather, and all of a sudden it's bad news Colts. Like,
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but I don't know if it was the snow or banged up or whatever, but T.Y. Hilton was not good on Sunday.
I mean, you got Adam Vinatieri missing bunnies,
yeah,
multiple bunnies,
yeah,
like 2 sub 30-yard kicks. Yeah, I think it was partly an example, and another game where one team races out to a lead. Like when you look at a game like this and it's 24-7 at the half, and the Colts did literally nothing on offense for 90% of the game. I don't think they picked up a third down in the game. I was bringing up the box score, but I'm pretty sure they didn't have a third down pickup. Which stuff like that, that's like, I don't care how well this Chiefs defense played in that game, / they want to play next week. They're not holding the Patriots to over on third down. There's absolutely no way.
Unlikely.
No, there's no way. Like I would doubt there's a game in Brady's career where he's gone over on third down. And with the thing is, personnel wise, with Edelman and James White, it's impossible. So the Patriots, just based on looking at that fact and looking at how that game went for the Colts and the fact the Patriots could not, they could have, but it would be the Monday Night Massacre, which is possible. Like they've been beaten up in the playoffs, but I just don't. This doesn't feel like one of those years. And if it was going to happen, I think it very well could have been last week.
They're 3-5 on the road this year, Walk.
Yeah, that's a factor, for sure. I mean, that's the factor. If it was in Gillette, this would almost be a no-brainer for me. If it was in Gillette, I wouldn't feel conflicted at all. Spoiler alert, I'm picking the Pats. But
going against your original prediction.
Yeah, they played the best game this last weekend. They absolutely dominated the Chargers. If they had kept being aggressive and throwing they beat up on them. And the Chargers, that Chargers defense, the personnel is better than the Chiefs defense that they're going up against this week.
But not the personnel scheme they were putting on the field.
Yeah, so I think the coaching matchup I can't tell. That's the thing, because the Chiefs played terrible defense throughout this year as well.
Last week. Though.
The only different, because I actually don't even think the DBs thing is a worse matchup necessarily, or is a better matchup for the Patriots. The difference for me is that the pass rush and the strength of the Kansas City front is more focused on the interior.
Uh-huh.
And I just feel like Kansas City isn't. The Chargers are really a speed front, and the Patriots, this year their power rushing offense, their blocking has just been elite. We talked about Gronk before the game. They've been using Devlin, I've been a fan of his for a while. And frankly, the dude smashes people. Every time he's in the game, he murders somebody. And he's a classic, great fullback. He's a beast. Devlin, Gronk, I guess Dwayne Allen, but then even the wide receivers. Like all the wide receivers block. Edelman is one of the best blocking receivers in the game. For his size, he's probably the best. Like pound for pound, is probably the best blocking receiver in the game.
Yeah.
But he's tiny. But you look at all these plays, like Sony Michel said himself on his 40 plus yard run that you could have driven a truck through the holes. And when you watch the play, it's like the guy makes a couple one-step cuts, but ultimately it's like, oh, I'm going to cut over here because there's 10 yards with nobody in it. Oh, another 10-yard space with nobody in it, so I'm going to cut over there. And across the field, Gronk is locked up burying somebody. Jules is locked up on somebody. And the Chargers, my point being, the Chargers' speed versus the power of the Kansas City defense is going to make it tougher to run over them. But I also, I just can't see this game not being a shootout because they're not. Kansas City. I don't know.
Define a shootout.
both. I just think both teams are scoring 20 points at least.
Well, that's not a shootout.
28-28 or 28-31 or whatever that's a playoff shootout. I mean, I wonder the record for playoff scoring in a game
both
total.
Teams need to be past 30 for it to be a real shootout.
No, that's just your fantasy, modern, dumb NFL perspective.
No, there's nothing I like more than a 24-20 game. That's usually the sweet spot of good football. But yeah.
That's a pretty offensive playoff game.
It is. I was mostly just talking regular season. Just good football usually ends in a low 20s score for each team.
Yeah, I mean it depends. I mean,
Maybe
the first Patriots Kansas City
low 20s.
The first Patriots Kansas City game was like in the 70s aggregate and was
I think it was 43-40.
Yeah, competitive throughout. I don't know. I mean, I would be surprised if there's been more than a handful of, not a handful necessarily, but playoff games with both teams over 30 are rare. Rare. Like, I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Yeah, I guess I can't either.
Like, the highest I can get pretty much is...
Oh, I definitely can think of one. The one where the Colts came back from 21 down in Andrew Luck's rookie year against the Chiefs.
Yeah. Yep. But anyway, my point is, when
the Seahawks lost to the Panthers 35-30 after being down 35-0 at halftime in the divisional round when the Panthers went to the Super Bowl.
So that's what I was going to say. I was almost going to make the point because the only games that I can think of were close were games where one team goes on a huge run, then the other team goes on a huge run. Because the Patriots and Seahawks Super Bowl was, what, like 28-35?
No, 28-24, I think.
28-24?
It would have been 28, like 30, whatever.
And the Falcons Super Bowl, whatever, 30.
31-28, or...
No.
34-28.
Yeah. Quick maths.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is going to be a high-scoring playoff game, if not a shootout. I don't think either team is gonna stop the other consistently. I feel like that game comes down to basically who's making the most plays at the end of the day. Most plays, least mistakes. Because I think it's gonna come down to big penalties, potential turnovers, which that's my thing. I mean, if the Patriots, kicking, exactly. stuff like that for sure. If the Patriots execute on the level they did against the Chargers, where they played a classic Patriots game where on all three levels it was hard to pick big mistakes out for the most part, with a few exceptions. See Stephon Gilmore giving up the first Chargers touchdown, which is a big play.
What was that?
He can't play zone. The guy can't play zone.
No, but that wasn't it. The issue was he tried to. It looked like he tried to undercut what he thought was going to be a slant route, and then he didn't.
Yeah, because he can't play zone. Because that's not what you do in zone. All he can do is play aggressive press man. I hate him as a player. I mean, he's a good corner for them, and he's maybe one of their three best defensive players without a doubt. But for the money, man, I have a hard time with it. I hate him is too strong. I don't hate him, but
I hate his guts.
No,
I hate his family.
$14 million for a guy who, like, Pro Football Focus.
The city he grew up in.
Pro Football Focus can say whatever they want. The All-Pro team can, do whatever it wants, and the whoever votes for that, whatever media, national media constituency votes for that, can say whatever they want. The guy's like, he's not one of the best handful of corners in the game. He can't play zone at all. And also, he gets burnt all the time. You can't be the best corner in the league and get burnt all the time. I've said that for years. I said it about I said it about Revis as soon as he got old once he left the Patriots. I said it about Sherman at times with the Seahawks.
Sherman got burned, but he had Earl Thomas.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's the same. Anyway, I don't want to get hung up on the Stephon Gilmore thing because my point is that the Patriots played a classic Patriots good game where they came out and just didn't make a lot of mistakes. And I think they showed with the result of them making not a lot of mistakes against a good Chargers team, and the result of that game shows that there's enough there. If they play like the Patriots, which is a question, granted, and also I would not be totally surprised if they come out and lose this game 35-6 or something like that. I mean, I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked. Like the way this season has gone, it's possible. If they come out and they have 150 yards of penalties against, yeah, I could see it because they've had these weird games where they're not disciplined, they don't execute. But if they play like the Patriots, I don't think the Chiefs can beat them with Andy Reid. I mean, I heard on the Boston FM,
it's a new era walk.
The Sports Hub station.
Broken. Patrick Mahomes.
You need to build in a lead for Andy Reid to not give the game away at the end. If you're the Chiefs,
they can do that.
They can. I don't know. I come back to they keep flashing it on ESPN, the stat that Brady is 10-0 in the postseason against quarterbacks in their first year starting in the postseason, and Mahomes is great, scary great, like to the point where I hope he gets injured so he doesn't surpass Brady. But at the same time, it's his first year. One of the few things you can, nitpick with him this season has been at times carelessness with the ball. And I just think if they protect Brady, which is possible, because Kansas City played well last week, but there's still not that much there. And the Patriots line play and everything, if they block it up, if James White and Edelman have 10 receptions each like last week, and there's no turnovers, Mahomes coughs up a fumble late in the game.
Mahomes don't fumble.
He does.
Nah.
He carries the ball like bread. I don't even know why they say that. Like when they just palm the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's an expression.
LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, exactly. Why is that an expression? It is. I mean, I heard that from growing up.
I've never really heard that expression.
Yeah, no, it's old school, but maybe that's how people used to carry bread. I don't know. I mean, I have a whole I took a bunch of game notes, but it basically the Patriots game basically boils down to the Chargers did not change their game plan at all from the week before. Came out and the Patriots were like, okay, sweet, we watched this film, and then they just proceeded to shred it in the way that they practiced shredding it.
Yeah.
And the Chargers did not change it ever.
Patriots game planning, Chargers game planning, and then the couple critical mistakes early in the game that just get you too far behind the eight ball.
Critical mistakes early in the game, and I also do think they started, which I mean, they were getting dominated, but I think once they got behind the eight ball, they lost it pretty quickly as a team and started freaking out about it. Which I mean, it's hard not to when you're going down multiple scores in the first quarter and starting to get run over as a defense, and then Jeremy, they had 10 men on the field on the Pats' first rushing touchdown.
I didn't know that.
That's not good. That's not... As soon as pretty much when I saw that, I turned to Diana and I was like, this game's over. They're not ready. They're not ready, and if the Chargers aren't ready, the Patriots are going to destroy them. So that's my one thing is, no one has a bye this week. If Kansas City isn't ready next week and the Pats are ready, then they're not going to destroy Kansas City because they can't stop. They can't stop Mahomes. I mean, I like Rivers, and I vouched for Rivers on this podcast, but, defending him is not the same ballpark as defending Patrick Mahomes right now, and they're not going to stop Patrick Mahomes. If they hold him under 20, I'm picking him in the Super Bowl, baby, no matter what.
Under 20, yeah, that'd be impressive.
That's what I'm saying, but that's not even, it's possible.
I think the Chiefs...
Well, you're the one who just said that you need 30 points for a shootout.
I was just going to say, I think the Chiefs' lowest point total this year is 24. and they were playing the Raiders, so they didn't need much.
Yeah, but playoffs, dude. I don't know. I mean, also, we've got the Arctic vortex swirling in, which the worse the weather, the better, in my opinion. So
I'd say, yeah, it helps
for the Patriots because at this point they can lean on that power game, and between that
the wind. I think short of it being 10 degrees, which I think it can't. They're saying it could be.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be cold for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when it gets that cold, everything is affected, even the run game, because
it hurts.
It hurts.
Yeah, it's painful to be in the air, much less get smacked in it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's what I mean.
So that is definitely one way I could see it not being a shootout, because it's 5 degrees.
Yeah, if it's 10 degrees and snowy, for sure. Which, I mean,
even if it's not snowing, just when it's 5 degrees.
I would love to see that game.
It is tough to throw the ball with your bare hands in 5-degree weather.
CBS says brutally cold temps.
Brady's down to throw on the gloves though, on his throwing hand, isn't he? Doesn't he do that sometimes?
He has in the past. He's gone both ways, but I mean, I don't. Just because based on the
when it's like 5 degrees out, I think that makes a difference.
In terms of
you can get comfortable with it.
Well, so I was just gonna say, in terms of quarterbacks, just Brady's experience to me gives the Patriots the edge in the weather because there's nothing that he hasn't played in, basically. So I mean,
that would have to be the coldest game of his career.
10 degrees.
Well, no,
not necessarily. If it dropped,
I thought I saw from Adam Schefter that 10 was the high.
Yeah,
and
so
it
the
could be below 0.
National Weather Service is saying that 10 to well below 0. Well, right, but what's the coldest? But last Sunday was the coldest game of Mahomes' career. That's what I'm saying. Brady's played 10 snow games, 15 snow games in his career, or whatever, and like. And when
snow
also when
5-degree weather is different.
Well, yeah, but the Patriots also practice in 15-degree weather every day.
It's true.
They don't go inside, so they practice in 5-degree weather, and Belichick walks out on the field and squirts water on the ball when it's dry. So they practice in the weather. Period. I think, which again, I will come back, and it's. This has been a weird year, and if they come out and I'm, caught up partly in the hype of a big win, but if they come out and play not like the Patriots, then they could get their ass kicked. The more I look at the game, the more I think if they play like the Patriots, they're the favorites in my opinion. They should be. They won't be. I mean, they're not the favorites in the game, but I think if they come out and play like the Patriots, they should win. I feel like we've been right on it all season talking about how these teams are good. The 4 teams we've been talking about all season basically as the good teams that are a pack of, pretty good, not great teams, and any of them can beat each other. And I still feel the same way. And I still feel like, as I felt all season, if Brady and Belichick bring their A game, at this point, it's like, other than, Breeze and Peyton, no one's going to be ready. And Breeze, we'll see about Breeze and Peyton, but I still think that Andy Reid, if it's 5 degrees and this game is, 14 to 21 or whatever with 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, God forbid it's 24-14, by the way, a 2-score game late in the fourth quarter, it's like pretty much mark it because Andy Reid is going to start calling random timeouts. And the crowd boos. Boo! And Andy Reid goes, I'm sorry. And he just doesn't know. So, I don't know. I like the Pats. We're moving on to picks now, by the way. And I'm going Pats in that one.
I'm still going to say the Chiefs, but I definitely think it's more of a toss-up than I did a week ago.
Yeah, that game throws a wrench in everything. The Patriots were not impressive at the end of the season. They played their worst at the end of the season, and then all of a sudden they played their best game of the whole year. So it's confusing, for sure. NFC?
I still like the Saints.
Yeah, I think, frankly, there's only 2 games, so it's hard to say this, but I think there's a chance this might be maybe almost the best weekend of football of the year in some way, because I feel like both of these games could be classics.
I wish they were Saturday, Sunday, though, rather than back-to-back on Sunday.
Well, you would, because you just want to watch football literally all weekend if possible.
Well, I mean, is 3.5 hours each day different than 7 hours on Sunday?
Yeah, I'd rather just do it. I'd rather just make a day of it next weekend, conference championship day. And I mean, I think the Pats play first, so I'll just not watch if they lose. Then I'm free to go be angry somewhere.
Not even going to watch the NFC championship if the Pats lose, Walk?
Maybe not. Depends on how it goes. No, if it's, they're the late game.
Haha.
Darn it, I'm trapped. NFL.
You must watch
You
football.
dogs.
All day.
Yeah, I mean, basically what we picked for the playoffs. I switched the Pats because they beat the crap out of a team that I was buying in on. But yeah, I think this is going to be these should both be really good games. There's a lot to both of them, which, I mean, we also talked about like the Patriots game and how many great matchups there were to watch and this and everything, and then pretty much the Patriots dominated almost all of them. So, and I do also see potential like for all 4 of these teams winning in a blowout. Like it's conceivable to me that either the Rams or Saints and either the Patriots or Chiefs win their game by 2 touchdowns.
I don't really.
I mean, not and.
I think the Rams. I mean, I'm still picking the Saints, but I really don't think the Saints could blow out the Rams.
Oh, I think they can win by 2 touchdowns at home for sure.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, not necessarily blow out, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if any of these teams
I think it's
comes out of the weekend with a convincing, no doubt win.
I feel like, as we've seen in like the Dallas game and at like parts of games during the season, you can grind the Saints offense to a halt. It doesn't happen often, but it's happened. Whereas I haven't seen the Rams offense just become inoperable this year.
I mean, when they have the guys they have, yeah, that's fair. But I come back to the Dome, and I would be surprised if the Saints, was that Dallas game at home or at Dallas? Which, I mean, I guess Dallas is a Dome too. It was in
Dallas.
But
yeah.
But I just
that was that Monday night game in like week 11, right when the Cowboys were officially hot. They got back to like 6-5 that week.
Passing. No. Offense, please. Yeah, I still don't trust the Rams defense.
What was the other game?
I don't think, I mean, I like the Cowboys defense still much more than I like the Rams defense. Regardless of what happened in the last game, I can totally see Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib each giving up a touchdown or 2 in this game in the first half, possibly. And I mean, it's just
but Aaron Donald.
No, yeah, I know. No. Like I said, I think they're both going to be close games. I think it's totally easy to see a scenario where the Saints run out to a lead. And also, by the way, if the Saints race out to a 21-3 lead at the half, the Rams it's over. Because if you knock them that far off the script, they're going to have problems. Especially if you knock them that far off the script in a way that means it's time for Goff to go downfield. Because now there's a turnover in the second half. And now there's probably a lot of 3rd and long because you're going to be throwing on 2nd down, a lot of incompletions.
The Saints did lose Sheldon Rankins, though, notably.
Yeah, I did see that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about their defense to talk about the personnel at all. I know like 3 players on their defense, so. But
that's poor.
I don't watch the Saints. I don't watch the NFC South.
That's poor. It's an exciting division, dude.
It's terrible.
Okay, well,
it's exciting because it's the worst division.
It flopped, but on paper, like that was the best division in football coming. The Panthers
suck almost every year. Ultimately,
yep.
Regardless of the hype and Cam Newton.
6-2 walk, they were good. Remember that?
6-2 with how many of their wins in the early season coming against the bums they were playing in the NFC South and elsewhere.
Well, Fitzmagic was Fitzmagic the first 3 weeks of the season.
I don't think bad football is fun.
The Falcons weren't supposed to be bad until everyone got hurt.
I know they weren't
right
supposed
away.
to be, but they were going to be.
Yeah.
Oh, the Falcons thing has been over since Matt Ryan took the sack on 3rd and 8 to get knocked out of field goal range. Up 28-14 or whatever. I mean, they felt like a one-trick pony to me, like, during that game, much less. I mean, not even before, leading up to that game. That was, the hype offense. And I know they lost Shanahan and blah, blah, blah. But, like, what has Shanahan done for the 49ers? I think it happens.
Well, he hasn't had much to work with.
It's fair, but I also think...
Beathard.
But I also don't... I don't know. I don't buy...
It's
the same thing as what's happening with Deshaun McVay.
CJ Mullins was playing like an average quarterback.
I don't hold that against him. Well, yeah, I mean...
No, that's what I'm saying.
But we don't know that he was...
guy who wasn't verified on Twitter into an average NFL quarterback.
We don't know that. We don't know that. Because that's not...
We don't know.
Because you can't say that Bill Belichick turned a 6th-round draft pick with no talent into Tom Brady. Brady was a psychopath, and the fact that he had no athletic talent hid the fact that he had the best intangibles of maybe any football player ever. So maybe, to a much lesser extent, the same's true with Nick. We just didn't know Nick Mullen is a serviceable backup quarterback, which is all he proved, that the guy can come in and not lose games for you every week like the other guy was doing. / keep you out of games.
I think he proved he deserves to be in a competition to start somewhere. He put up more than 400 yards more than once in half a season.
Everyone puts up 400 yards now.
That's not true.
It pretty much is.
Twice in 8 games. And it wasn't like he was a turnover monster.
Yeah, so, okay, I'll give you. But I mean, also, like, Fitzmagic. Having good games doesn't make you...
I'm not saying he's good. I'm saying that, like,
yeah, I gave you. He can compete in a... But whatever, having a guy who shows up as a serviceable backup / borderline fringe starter in the league isn't like... You're not a quarterback guru. We don't talk about Andy Reid as a quarterback guru, and the guy developed... made Donovan McNabb, made Alex Smith, made Patrick Mahomes.
I
if you want to talk about it like that.
I don't know if people specifically think of him as a quarterback guru. He's just... an offensive... I mean, he's one of the more important and successful offensive minds in football.
I don't know about important. I don't feel like he's an influential coach. He's consistently successful, but I feel like he's a copycat, not the other way around. He's just a guy who goes with the league and has good offenses.
Yeah.
Which I'll give him that, but there's never been a time where I felt like Andy Reid offenses are doing anything new in the league.
Donovan McNabb was kind of different for 2004, 2003.
How?
The way he could throw and scramble.
He didn't really run.
Yeah, he did. Early. He wasn't Michael Vick back there.
They didn't change the game with Donovan McNabb. Donovan McNabb had nothing to do with the transition to you could say he was an early adopter of that, but I think people give these offensive minds way too much credit for just having a new thing, which works in the NFL, because that's how the NFL works. Once there's film, you get stopped. Once there's film, it gets a lot harder. For every position, every team, every group, every scenario, the more film there is, the harder it is. That's why you have to change. So I just don't give people credit for doing it once or doing it even twice necessarily. Andy Reid, I will give credit. I'm not trying to, again, good offensive mind. I'm not going to give him great offensive mind because I just don't think he's an innovator, and he's never won anything in 20 seasons or whatever.
An NFC championship.
One in 6 attempts.
Yeah.
5. This is his 6th, I think. But still, it's like, and also he loses like a lot of them is like partly his fault. So, but my point is, Kyle Shanahan has proven little to nothing to me. Like, he's creative. He's a creative play designer. That's all I know about Kyle Shanahan to this point. And that's unfair because the thing is, it just kind of goes without saying that like at that level, most of these guys are really talented coaches. Like he's an exceptionally creative play caller and a like very talented football coach, offensive football coach. I just don't like. I don't know if the guy can, like, I like what the 49ers did this year because they hung on. They lost their quarterback and they competed, which is basically all you can ask throughout the season for the most part. They played hard. Good. Props to him. I just feel like as an offensive mind, the more obvious example is all the McVay guys who have done little to nothing, even with the Rams probably, because McVay does everything as far as I can tell offensively. And then you get a job just because you've been a part of something that's...
Well, guys who...
And I'm not putting Shanahan on that level, but...
I was because Andy Reid had Ron Rivera, Doug Peterson. There's so many more. There's literally 9 NFL head coaches that were on Andy Reid's staff. Todd Bowles, maybe Adam Gase.
What's the point?
Well, you were just talking about coaching lineage. Andy Reid's coaches are established. Guys who have done stuff in this league.
Well, what are his... I mean, I don't know. I'm not even talking about the past. What are his coordinators right now?
Who are his coordinators right now?
Well, yeah, because I'm not talking about like the Sean McVay coaching tree. I'm talking about the phenomenon in the NFL currently of people getting caught up in the new thing always, which it's like, guys, which I always go back to. It's built into that league that the new thing works. Like people love the Wildcat. People thought the Wildcat was going to change the NFL because guess what? The Patriots had never seen anything like that nor practiced it. So they came out and won one game with it. And then, yeah, it's kind of useful gadget. But at the end of the day, it's like, spend one day of practice in August on how to defend the Wildcat and you'll shut them down, guys.
Go to a high school practice.
Yeah, no, straight up. No, it's like literally if you mention it, then you'll shut them down. So the Wildcat is like a microcosm of the bigger issue, but it's like come up with a cutesy way to do slot receiver motions and run a lot of different actions off of that where your moderately talented quarterback makes basically a triple option read, but in a passing play or in a, whatever scenario. But basically I'm saying dumbing down an offense to a point, not even dumbing it down, but having an offense which looks a lot more complicated than it is basically, which is like what half of these offenses are. It's just based on motion, moving guys around, and then ultimately they make one read based on that, snap the ball, one post-snap read, and the ball's, which is like college offense, but I'll leave that alone. Except to say that I just think it's like, it's new right now. Once teams start defending it, learning to defend it, which they will, all the stuff that's happening, and they'll adapt to some extent. I mean, it's hard to play defense and seems like getting harder. So I'm not saying like anybody's, like scoring numbers are going down and defenses are going to adjust to this new wave of offense, but I don't think the new wave of offense is connected to like the new offenses as much as just like the way the game is played now. I mean, the Seahawks were moderately successful offensively this year with basically as old school of an offense as you can play in the modern NFL. So I just think you can score now. If you play well, you're going to get in the end zone.
Russell Wilson taking flat-footed dropbacks.
Yeah, exactly.
I love watching that. Like, it's just like, why didn't people turn? Why did they do that?
Yeah. I don't know. We're rambling a bit, I feel like.
Same with like old school pitching motions. It's just like, what?
Who thought that was a good idea?
Swing your arms like back behind your head.
Yeah.
Give it the old 1-2, buckle my shoe before you give it a toss.
Hey man, if it feels good, go with it. I got a pee so bad, dude. And we're rambling. We're at now. No, we're at an hour and a half.
Bottle.
We're at an hour and a half, and we're rambling.
Pee on Wong.
We made our picks. It's time. I'm sorry, Jeremy. Thanks for tuning in.
Say goodbye.
Like us on Facebook at Throwing From the One. Subscribe on YouTube at Throwing From the One Podcast. We really appreciate comments or engagements of any kind if you want to like something on the Facebook page. I've been Walker Sagan for Jeremy Tower. This is Throwing From the One Podcast, episode 28, signing off.
Italian, the rest is in Italian. I don't know any Italian. Italian salami. Going to a cool deli, getting some